This crowd is chanting the name Novak. They have gathered en masse to support the Serbian tennis star's name in Melbourne, Australia, Novak Djokovic, the site of the 2022 Australian Open, of course. The Guardian reported these supporters flocked to Djokovic's lawyer's office. This car left said office and fans surrounded it. It's incredible to see this fanfare for such an inhumane way of thinking, and it shows how the anti-vax, anti-mask movement is not out for what they proclaim, it is out for sheer violence. The size of the crowd cannot be understated. However, the saddest part, they are fighting for the wrong things. First, the story, as ABC Australia reported, fans became rowdy as a black car emerged with one man jumping on it. It was not clear if Djokovic was in the car, though fans believed he was. This all comes after Djokovic won his court battle, challenging the cancellation of his Australian visa, which suggested he would now be able to play in the Open. It was quashed by the Federal Circuit Court, and he will be freed from immigration detention. Judge Anthony Kelly was the one doing the quashing. Here's the thing, though. Djokovic tested positive for COVID on December 16th, yet appeared as part of a maskless indoor panel discussion and attended a maskless indoor ceremony for a stamp being made in his honor. Furthermore, Ben Rothenberg noted on December 17th, the day after his positive PCR test, Djokovic attended an award ceremony for children at the Novak Tennis Center. So he was taking pictures with children the day after he tested positive for COVID. I repeat, he gathered with kids, maskless, indoors, with COVID in his system. Another note, remember Wisconsin's Nigel Hayes. Djokovic took a pic with him, shook his hands, and voila, Hayes tested positive. There's another wrinkle to this, as Rothenberg noted. A positive test on December 16th would have come too late for the Tennis Australia exemption process deadline, as described to players. According to Tennis Australia documents, the deadline for applying for an exemption had been nearly a week earlier, no later than December 10th. So who exactly is pulling the strings behind the scenes for Novak? The saddest part, recall where Djokovic is being held. Via The Guardian, since December 2020, refugee advocates have stood outside there every day, trying desperately to bring awareness to the plight of the 30-plus men stuck indefinitely inside. When the world's #1 male tennis player unexpectedly joined them, it brought a new group of protesters and an international media spotlight. In that time, the Australian Border Force has used the hotel to house refugees who had been held for years on remote Pacific islands under Australia's much criticized offshore detention policy for asylum seekers who try to reach the country by boat. Those at the Park Hotel were brought to Australia for medical treatment, but they cannot leave the hotel for any other reason, and they do not know how long they will be kept there. Asylum seekers at the hotel posted pictures of moldy and maggot-infested food they said they had received in their rooms. Earlier in December, some said that after a fire broke out at the hotel, they were confined to the lobby and not allowed outside. Several asylum seekers said the windows of the rooms had been screwed shut, denying them access to fresh air. In October and November, a COVID outbreak swept through the ranks. At one point, 22 of the 46 asylum seekers who were being held had COVID. Australia's treatment of asylum seekers is inhumane. deeply cruel and illegal under international law, said Sophie McNeil, the Australia researcher for Human Rights Watch. You would think there would be some alliance between the Djokovic crowd that showed up and the asylum seekers, advocates who have been outside the hotel for many, many months and weeks, trying desperately to get them out, but no. It ended on Monday night when a court ordered Djokovic's release. Across the park, the mood was more somber as advocates for the refugees gathered. Occasionally, they would chant "free them all," but mostly they stood in a solemn silence. For them, the decision to let Djokovic free showed what money and power can do, a win against Australia's notoriously strict immigration laws, that the tennis champion could end up in a basic hotel next to men who had been locked up, some for 9 years, showed we are not that different from each other, one advocate said. The pro-Joko crowd proclaimed the words freedom and injustice, yet do not see what asylum advocates and refugee protesters see. Instead, what do? They flock to a lawyer's office, a decked-out black Audi, and make their way to Rod Laver Arena.